Hello, and welcome to Executive Mosaic's video interview series. I'm Summer Myatt, and here to speak with me today is Greg Wenzel, Executive Vice President and leader on Booz Allen Hamilton's global defense business. Greg, thank you so much for joining us today.
Summer, thank you for having me here today.
So Greg, you have a master's degree in computer science. How did you make the jump from computer science to leading a global defense business?
I would say it was a combination of I like to build things, solve problems, and also served in the military. So that unique combination at the time got me a job at Booz Allen over 30 years ago. Yes, I am institutionalized at Booz Allen, but I would do it all again because Booz Allen as a consultancy and a problem-solving institution matched my core values and interests. And so basically, understanding the client's issues and challenge when it can be solved with the latest IT innovation and building an IT system, that was where they came together and spent a lot of time in Department of Defense effectively trying to help a lot of our soldiers, sailors, and airmen and women, be more survivable and lethal.
What advice would you give to somebody that's trying to enter your industry today?
That's a great question. I would say understand the problem. So what I learned at the beginning, working my way through was, the classic engineering problem solution. Hey, I got a solution, build it and they will come. Doesn't work that way in this industry. You got to really understand what the mission problem is, the context, and then what you would do to solve it. So basically start with the problem that whoever you're talking with in DoD has, and then give them a couple options on how it could be solved, and then your number one recommendation. As simple as that.
Now over to JADC2. Greg, as you know, this is a milestone year for the Defense Department's JADC2 initiative, now that the implementation plan and strategy have been released. As the DoD moves forward with its JADC2 build-out, what do you think will be the key challenges to overcome in taking JADC2 from concept to reality?
This is good timing for the question. I was actually just yesterday at National Defense University presenting with a bunch of flag officers, and the one thing that I would say we need to think about under JADC2 is how do we operate as a DoD enterprise? And what I mean by that is basically we're in the middle of it right now, trying to help them solve the problem, okay, a joint all-domain command and control. But if you look at empirical data, what is going on right now, there are probably 12 different data fabric initiatives going on across the department, 17 or more different DevSecOps environments. That's a pipeline to be able to build an IT system within DoD. And then lastly, if when you go to war, I would say the easiest way to explain this is the services organize, train, and equip. They basically are designed to build for their service needs and requirements. And then you go to war and you're fighting under a joint task force or the COCOM, and I should say, and the COCOM commander. Think like a COCOM commander. When we go to war in this next fight where it's a near peer and you got to bring all assets to bear, how many command and control systems do you think there are right now available to the COCOM commander? It's a trick question. 32 and counting. We're actually finding, and so, and then it's up to the COCOM commander to be able to stitch them together and connect from sensor to effector or shooter. And so we do that in a point-to-point, after-the-fact fashion. And going back, it's a long-winded answer to a very short question. I would say we need to operate as an enterprise. In corporate world, how many data fabrics do you think we have at Booz Allen? One. We can only afford one to network our systems together. And so that's what I think, and I was informing some of the DoD leaders, can we start operating as an enterprise where we think instead of culture, where we compete for resources and things like that, and even within each service, they compete, they're so large, they compete for resources. Could we agree, okay, the Army is going to be the data fabric layer, DISA will be the infrastructure layer, and we will all agree to use and plug in.
So on the topic of this enterprise-wide data fabric, a main pillar of the JADC2 strategy is modernizing information sharing for mission partners and across services. Can you talk about the urgency behind this line of effort, and why is a mission partner environment so critical to JADC2?
I agree. It's imperative. So this is just a few years of experience in DoD talking at you. So we, how do I say, you know, the whole story around the near peer, aka China and Russia, you know, the People's Republic of China. The issue is they have same technologies that we have. I would say our technologies are better, but they have more than 3 times. They have a lot more than we do. So they come at us with force. And the only way to really be survivable is to be able to be networked, agile, and lethal, right? Think of oh, and I'm stalling on the metaphor, the guy that went against the giant with the sling. You'll edit this.
David and Goliath.
Yes. Think of the, you know, so think of the David and Goliath scenario. The best way, we're going up against Goliath that has more. So we have got to be networked, and it's not just the US. It's with our coalition partners. So when our adversary knows that we are united with either NATO and all those countries in NATO, or in the Asian Pacific region, Japan, South Korea, all that, and we're connected with them in a coalition environment, they'll think again about trying to move into Taiwan and things like that.
Achieving a common understanding of the operational environment, like you spoke about earlier, will require the deployment of advanced sensors and cutting-edge technology solutions. As someone with an extensive background in technology and the digital battle space, can you talk about some of the tech innovations you're looking forward to seeing as JADC2 comes to life?
Sure. What I see, you know, you hear in industry, the AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the data fabrics. I mean, I personally have been working data integration and connecting systems together for 3 decades. I mean, it's just coincidental and fortuitous. Now that it's a big problem in DoD, I was doing it in the commercial sector. The technologies are continue to evolve. AI has been around for decades, but the technology has matured to the point where the compute is there, so we might be able to automate some of the processing of the data. But to be able to do AI, it's like a layer cake in my mind. AI needs a lot of data to train it. I mean, AI is like a 5-year-old. I mean, they're a sponge. They're learning. The algorithm is learning. It needs a lot of data. To get a lot of data, you need to connect the systems together and share the data. We build in stovepipes. So, you know, it's the way we build IT systems in DoD, like we do aircraft, ships, and tanks. Shrink wrap, monolithic, cost schedule performance for a program manager. We need to flip it like the internet. Create an environment that allows all the IT systems to plug in, exchange data securely, and then we'll be able to allow the next technologies of any advanced data processing, any advanced sensors. Sensors continue to evolve. They get better precision, but they still produce a lot of data, and you need AI to really filter and get the right data and information to the warrior that's at the very edge.
On the budget side of things now, the Defense Department recently issued a $773 billion budget request for fiscal year 23, with $130.1 billion of that being allocated to funding research, development, test, and evaluation. How would this new budget support strategic investments in the JADC2 framework?
Yes, very familiar with that. And Ms. Xu, I've had several discussions with her up at RDT&E. In the short version, I hope the R&D is the element that will allow us to modernize while we need to sustain the existing system. So a lot of that budget is for troops, food, fuel, bullets, a bunch of equipment, more aircraft, advanced aircraft, tanks. I call it the kinetic war. But if we're able to focus that RDT&E budget on advanced technology in the information war, I think we have a fighting chance.
There's a big trend right now of shifting from being platform-centric to being data-centric. And as leader on Booz Allen's global defense business, can you share some examples of how you're working to transform military services from a platform-centric force to a data-centric one?
The one thing about Booz Allen, we're a consultancy at heart, but we actually are providing more and more technology solutions as a consultancy company, right? What's different than the traditional OEMs, we don't push product, we push the solution. Second is a government name of Rainmaker. It's a data fabric. So the way this data works, when you think platform-centric versus data-centric, what we're finding is we need to educate people on what is data-centric. There's platform at rest, or data at rest, where it's in like a database, like Avana is data at rest, where you can do some analysis and processing. When you want to do sensor to shooter, you want to connect those assets together. Think of an F-35 Joint Strike Fighter that's doing a sensing that will then go to a targeting cell that will then send a command and control message to a Navy ship gun or Army Paladin, which is a big artillery piece. Those connect and chain systems together. That's what the Rainmaker data fabric is. Again, government owned, developed by Booz Allen, but allows us to stitch the systems together. The best way to simply think about it is on the latter. We take the internet style model for networking DoD. Instead of creating a platform and say, we all want to be the next Microsoft and put it all, or Oracle database, put it all here. That is not realistic for the DoD environment and culture. So can we have, the model should be an internet model. Here are the standards and APIs for, whatever the mission is or the system that we then can plug everything into and chain them together to create what we call a mission threat, sensor to shooter, sensor to effector. And that's the two main initiatives that we're doing within the department for a data-centric solution.
Well, Greg, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today and for all the work you do at Booz Allen.
Thank you for having me.